The Mansion Incident, the tragedy at Raccoon City, Rockford Island, Umbrella's Antarctic Research Facility and the Umbrella Caucasus Research Facility in Russia, the kidnapping of the US President's daughter. One man was involved either directly or indirectly with each and every one of these incidents, Albert Wesker. The motivation behind all of Wesker's actions can be found in this current incident in Africa. Wesker had already obtained samples of various organisms and viruses, including the T virus, the G virus, the T Veronica virus, and Las Plagas. All of these were eagerly and enthusiastically received by Umbrella's former rival companies, who compensated him greatly for each. With wealth, power, and glory, Wesker appeared to have everything a person could ever want. However, Wesker was not interested in material gains. An all too familiar sense of trepidation continued to gnaw at him, the source of this uneasiness being Umbrella's founder, Oswald E. Spencer. During his time at Umbrella, Wesker could never ascertain what Spencer's true intentions were. Spencer's extensive funding of BOW research was unheard of in the field. The whole reason for producing bioweapons was that it could be done relatively inexpensively when combined with a normal weapons delivery system. Spencer's extreme investment in BOWs seemed unnecessary. Why would Spencer need such BOWs in the first place? To find the answer to that question, Wesker joined Umbrella's information department. Even after the downfall of Umbrella, these doubts continued to haunt Wesker. To find the answers he needed, Wesker began to search out Spencer. The only problem was that even before Umbrella's dissolution, Spencer had removed himself from Umbrella's day-to-day operations. Wesker had to use every resource at his disposal. His time, money, and connections. Eventually he ascertained Spencer's long-hidden whereabouts. On the first night of autumn, as thunder and lightning raged in the skies above, Wesker arrived at the ancient castle in Europe where Spencer resided. Wesker expected the old man to be surprised by his presence, but instead the withered old eyes of Spencer lit up with dark delight as he spoke. "You're back." The words barely audible amidst his cough-racked laugh. If Wesker had his doubts about Spencer before, he didn't know what to make of him now. He only knew that at that moment that his seemingly feeble old man had been in control of everything that had transpired at Umbrella. Even Wesker's own actions through the years had been controlled and manipulated by this decrepit old man. With this sudden realization, Wesker now knew the source of his anxiety for all these years. Appearing to read Wesker's thoughts, Spencer laid out everything to him. The development of bioorganic weapons was only a means of achieving his true goal, the forced evolution of mankind via viruses. It would be the end of the current form of humanity and the birth of a new superior human race. With this new race he would build his utopia with himself as a god on earth. In order to realize this dream he required three things. 1. The progenitor virus. Without this key component, his dreams would be no more than abstract ideas. Once he discovered the progenitor virus, he had the foundation on which all his subsequent plans would be built. 2. The Umbrella Corporation. The manufacture of bioweapons was the perfect method of conducting his research on the progenitor virus. Any profits gained through Umbrella's research were secondary to his goal. The third thing Spencer needed in his grand vision was Wesker himself. Spencer knew what was required for his utopia. He also knew he would need a new human race. But what would that new breed of humans be like? The progenitor virus would spur natural selection upon the population. That was the fundamental premise behind Spencer's plan. But if the new breed of humans brought about by this selection process were unwilling to share his vision, then there would be unwanted complications. This forced stage of evolution would give the surviving humans increased strength and intelligence, but it would not affect a person's knowledge, logic, or general character. If any indolent or unsavory individuals survived to be a part of this new race, it would be a blight on Spencer's utopia. Spencer was not about to have his vision stained, so he enhanced the plan to ensure that would not happen. This plan was called the Wesker Plan, which was named after the chief researcher at the time. According to this plan, hundreds of children born of parents of superior intellect from all nationalities would be collected. If their knowledge, logic and self-will could not be altered by genetic manipulation, then Spencer himself would instill his values into these children by whatever means he deemed necessary. These children were all given the surname Wesker, and after completion of their indoctrination manipulation, they were placed into select controlled environments in various locations around the world, ever under Umbrella's watchful eye. The children themselves were to be kept unaware they were being monitored. With Umbrella's concealed aid, they all received the best educations available in the fields they pursued. After a few years, one child who showed particular promise was sent to Umbrella's training facility in Raccoon City. This Wesker child's name was Albert. Spencer was quite pleased by all of Albert's actions, and if the other Wesker children were like him, Spencer would have nothing but quality individuals for his new race of humanity. Spencer then enacted the second phase of his plan. All the Wesker children would be administered an experimental virus. This virus was administered to screen out the more gifted of the Wesker children. Some took the virus on the recommendation of a friend, others were given the virus as part of their medical treatment, still others had it forcibly administered to them. Albert Wesker was no different. His partner, William Birkin, gave him the experimental virus and he administered it to himself. This screening process turned out to be a little too selective. Most of the Wesker children died, leaving only a few survivors. Albert Wesker was one of those survivors, and he disappeared shortly after. Spencer was unconcerned by this development. There was a fail-safe device attached to every Wesker, Spencer's existence. This was the discomfort Albert had felt throughout his life. All Wesker children were programmed to seek Spencer out, which manifested itself as a growing anxiety within each of the subjects. Just as Spencer had predicted, Albert soon came to him. Unfortunately, Spencer had made one miscalculation. His failsafe only worked for as long as it remained a mystery. As soon as the mystery was revealed, Wesker no longer had a need to restrain himself. All that was impeding Wesker was a feeble old man on death's doorstep. The right to be a god, that right is now mine. With these words, Wesker broke from the shackles that Spencer had laid on him. It was only random choice that brought his former subordinate Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine to Spencer's mansion at that exact time, but Wesker took it as a sign. The weak would always resist the will of the chosen. With renewed purpose, Wesker reflected on his own evolution and the evolution of the human race. After the incident at the Spencer estate, he went underground and used the news of his death to veil his activities. He had achieved his goal of obtaining the virus and capital he needed from his position at Umbrella. Next, he put all his efforts into bringing his Ouroboros plan to fruition, and thereby setting himself up as a god of the new generation of humanity.